on a screen in the hotel lobby. It was broadcasting live the lavish courtship of the rich young master of New York's Upper East Side. I, in my janitorial uniform. I can only endure this in silence. Few people know. Alexander's longtime girlfriend is actually me. I'm also the one who was once covered in bruises to save him. But now, Emily took my place. That day they stayed in a hotel, and I was wrongly accused of stealing by his fiancé, suffered a lot of aggression. He watched with cold eyes. He only said, "Fire her. This kind of person will only dirty the place." I left on his terms. Every day was a mess. And then, a man-made fire put my life in danger. That's when someone rushed in to save me without a second thought. It seems the relationship is still not completely over. Alexander and I went to college together. We've been in love for years. We've always had a good relationship. We originally agreed to get married as soon as we graduated. But in the end, because of an accidental fire, all our plans went down the drain. That day, he planned to propose to me in a restaurant, but I was late because of a rear-end accident on the road. I ignored the fire outside. I rushed into the restaurant. The fire burned my back. I used my body to protect the unconscious him again and again. When I woke up again, everything had changed. After I barely recovered, able to get out of bed and walk around, then groped my way to the door of his hospital room, I was stopped by security. A noblewoman came up to me, said to me, "You are the one who pestered my son, the one who caused him to be hospitalized. I'm warning you, as long as I'm around. You won't come near my son. You leave now." Through the half-open door of the hospital room, I saw a woman carefully tending to Alexander. Alexander's mom stopped in front of me, saying, "Did you see clearly? The one just now is my son's savior, and my son has recognized her. If you come up here and make trouble again, I'll kick you out of the hospital." She left a check before she left. It's my hush money. I found out later. Alexander inhaled too much smoke. She temporarily lost part of her memory and suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. Everyone in Alexander's family is very careful for fear of affecting his mood. Why did he forget about me? Is it because he waited too long for me that day? God had played such a cruel joke on us. I had to hold back the love in my heart and a belly full of grievances. I stood in the hall in a low mood. Suddenly, Mark ran over in a hurry. A hand pressed my shoulders. He said sternly, "Sophia, I called you several times. I called you several times. Why did you come to the lobby as a janitor? You're still standing here. Go and clean up." I lowered my head. I wiped away my tears. "Hurry up and leave. Behind." Mark was reminding everyone, "You all be serious. Alexander and his wife are coming to move in soon." Hearing that, my breath hitched. Almost cried again. He's finally going to stay in this hotel. These past 6 months, I could only look at the photo with him every day. I can only see him in my dreams. I no longer dare to hope to be with him again. I just hope to see him from afar is enough. That's why I chose to come to this hotel. The reason for doing this ordinary job. I mopped the floor vigorously with my left hand. At that moment, a waiter walked past me. His pager suddenly rang. A voice came from the pager. "Attention all departments. Alexander has arrived." In an instant, the whole floor was busy. I found a corner, just in time to see the first-floor lobby. Alexander has a great aura downstairs. Everywhere he went, people saluted him. He's so high and mighty. It's the first time I've seen him. Emily was held tightly in his arms, only when he looked at her. His cold face showed a hint of tenderness. As soon as they left, everyone couldn't help but marvel. Alexander is so handsome, even more handsome than on TV. His fiancée is also very pretty. They are a perfect match. I really envy his fiancée. I heard they went from school to marriage. His fiancée even saved his life. They're a perfect match. It's enviable. I took a look from afar, thought that would satisfy. I didn't expect the thoughts that had been accumulated for so long would be so strong. I could only hold my hand tightly, repeatedly remind myself, "Sophia, don't think too much. You're not in the same world anymore. You're like a rat living in a dark corner. And he's so good. Even if he regains his memory, you're no longer compatible with him." I thought that was the end of my meeting with Alexander. I've just finished the heavy cleaning task. I was about to go back to the dormitory to rest. I suddenly received an urgent call from Mark. "Sophia, you go to the VIP room right now. Remember to concentrate on your cleaning work." I immediately agreed. This kind of sudden call in the middle of the night asking me to clean happens often. I dragged my cleaning tools to the door of the room. I rang the doorbell first, after getting permission. Only then did I swipe the room card. I didn't expect it at all. The room that was temporarily arranged to be cleaned was actually theirs. The room was decorated in a particularly romantic way. There were flowers, balloons, and champagne everywhere. They were wearing hotel robes. Emily was holding a glass of red wine. She leans into his arms gently. "Alexander, you surprised me today. I really enjoyed it," she finishes. Took a sip of the wine gently. Then she smiled and moved closer to him. "Even if I think about Alexander, I can't stand by and watch him make out with another woman in front of me. My heart is in turmoil. I can't control my hands." I accidentally knocked over a fruit plate. I hurriedly squatted down while picking up the things while apologizing. "Alexander, Emily, I'm sorry. I'll clean it up." Emily was disturbed. With a disgruntled look in her eyes, reprimanded. "How do you do things?" Alexander said, "It seems that the standard of the staff in this hotel is not very good." I instantly became nervous. I hurriedly bowed my head and apologized. "Emily, please calm down. Give me another chance." Emily showed a hint of curiosity in her eyes. Suddenly staring at my face, she said, "Lift your head up. I think you look familiar." The moment this sentence came out, I immediately felt a cold sweat on my back. Before I had time to think of how to answer, Emily smiled slightly. Her eyes turned to Alexander, asked, "Alexander, doesn't she look familiar to you?" Alexander didn't even look at me. He smiled coldly. This kind of person, how would I recognize her? Then he said, "If you can't do it right, replace him." Out. My heart immediately clenched. Bitterness welled up. I was just about to bend down and step back. Emily deliberately wanted to embarrass me. She said, "Stand still. Back down on your knees." I was like a lost soul, gave up all my dignity, kneeled helplessly, just as I crawled step by step towards the door. Emily's petulant voice came from behind me. "Alexander, I'm tired. Will you carry me into the room?" I mechanically walked to the door. I closed the door. At that very moment, I saw Alexander holding a smiling Emily in his arm. He walked towards his room, just one door away, but it was like two worlds. I leaned helplessly against the door. I couldn't stop the tears from flowing. I can't tell you how hard it is for me. I shouldn't have expected Alexander to remember me. He used to be so gentle and polite, but now he has become so cold. What happened in these 6 months? He was right in front of me just now, but I felt like a stranger. I returned to the dormitory in a state of despair, looking down at my rough and uneven arms while washing up. The image of Alexander holding Emily's white, slender hand kept floating in my mind. Heart clogged. This night was the closest Alexander and I had ever been, the nightmares that I usually have. This time surprisingly did not appear. Early the next morning, I was woken up by an emergency call. "There's an emergency. Come to the top floor immediately." According to the rules, I just worked the night shift yesterday. I should be able to rest this morning, but I can't refuse. On the way there, I'm still a bit uneasy in my heart. Why the top floor? Usually the assembly is in the lobby. I just arrived in a hurry. Mark came over with a grim face. He raised his hand and slapped me. My face was knocked off. I said in an aggravated and angry voice, "Mark, what are you doing? Even if I am just an ordinary cleaner, you can't just hit people." Mark pressed my shoulder hard. He questioned, "How dare you talk back? Last night you went into the VIP room. Did you steal the guests' jewelry? If it wasn't for me stopping, Emily would have called the police. You quickly hand over the stuff." Hearing that, I froze at once, before I could open my mouth to explain. Mark pulled me hard into the house. She was full of smiles, pushed me forward. Emily, I've brought you some people. Please feel free to ask." Seeing that I still didn't react, Mark violently kicked my leg. He pressed me to the ground. Emily slowly walked over. Her tone was calm but with a hint of reproach. "It's fine if you took the others, but what you took was a birthday present from Alexander. Now, kneel down. Admit you're wrong." The janitor was so open-minded. I shook my head in horror. "Emily, I really didn't. Mark pinched my arm. He was in a hurry to shirk his responsibility. "Emily said that if you stole it, you stole it. She is such a dignified person. How could she accuse you wrongly? Sophia, it's not that I didn't give you a chance. If you keep this up, you'll go to jail. It happened so suddenly." I was confused. "Emily, did you drop this somewhere? I can help you find it." Emily came over slowly. She said, "I've already looked." "No, I haven't. Looks like she's not going to tell the truth." Mark suddenly lost control. He grabbed me by the hair. He slapped me hard from side to side on my face. "Are you going to tell me or not? Account or not?" I was hit so hard that my ears buzzed. My face swelled up all of a sudden. I still insisted. I didn't take it. Please believe me. Mark got tired of fighting, gasping for breath, he said. You're really tough. Let's see how I'll make you talk. Finished, she had a fierce look in her eyes, lifted her high heel and stepped on my left finger. The pain in my heart made me scream. Don't step on my hand. The fire didn't just take the love of my life. It also took away my favorite paintbrush. I do all this hard work with my left hand. I used my left hand. Now, without my left hand, I have ugly scars all over my body. I feel like an invalid. Seeing me finally give in, Mark had a smug look on his face. He asked me, "Are you going to confess or not?" I was covered in sweat. I was breathing heavily, and my face was swollen. Looking at the two men who would decide my fate, I said with all my might, "What do you want me to admit? I didn't steal it means I didn't steal it." Emily touched the big ring on her hand, said to Mark, "It seems that the people you recruited for the hotel are not simple." Mark's expression was serious, responded, "Emily, please don't worry. I will definitely make her talk." She stepped harder on my left hand. There was a crunching sound. I screamed in pain. The sound traveled all around. My whole body fell heavily to the floor. Alexander was resting in his room. He was woken up by the rattling. He asked, "What's going on? What's so noisy?" Seeing this situation, Emily immediately put away the ferocity she had just now. She became meek. She said to Alexander, "The birthday bracelet you gave me was taken by this dishonest cleaner. She just wouldn't hand over the thing." I barely raised my head, still holding on to a glimmer of hope, looking towards Alexander, who was standing tall. "Alexander, I didn't steal it. You can search me and my dorm room." Mark immediately interrupted him. "Stop it. If you really stole it, you'd have hidden it already, Alexander. This woman is very aggressive. She won't listen to me. Do with her what you will." Alexander turned his head in disgust. "Fire her. Deduct her salary for 3 months. A glint of grimness flashes in Emily's eyes, pulling Alexander. She said, "Alexander, isn't that too light a punishment?" Alexander frowned. "It's too noisy. It's not worth letting people like that soil our place." Mark pulls me out of the room. Once in the hallway, she rushed me out. "Pack up and leave. It's people like you. Almost ruined my career. What bad luck." I stood weakly. The body could barely support it. I looked at her and said, "Mark, I really didn't steal it." Mark sneered. "It doesn't matter whether you stole or not. You still can't see your own situation. HMPH. I heard something wrong in his words. It seems that this is Emily deliberately setting me up. But why? I can't threaten her now. I returned to the dormitory exhausted. My left hand had just been stepped on. It was swollen like a radish. I can't use it at all. A colleague who is close to me helped me organize my things and said, "Sophia, did you mess with someone?" Mark is relying on someone to back him up. He's gone too far. Now, I can only face the reality. I'm unemployed, and I have nowhere to go. I have no choice but to call my best friend. "Lily, can you let me stay at your place for a few days? I really have no other choice." My best friend came to pick me up as soon as she found out. She heard that Alexander was involved. She was so angry that she scolded him. "Alexander is too much. Even if he lost his memory, he can't let that woman who took someone else's place bully you like that. I have to say, you shouldn't have donated the check in the first place." I was silent, because things can't be changed. I did receive the hush money from Alexander's mom. Facing the high cost of treatment, I really can't afford it. If I didn't accept that money, I probably wouldn't have survived. Since I took the money, I wouldn't be in any position to ask for any more results. BFF was especially careful to protect me all the way and kept complaining. A week later, I went to work as a waitress at the club where BFF works. She performed there and specially begged the manager. I was barely allowed to work there. The first day, my best friend held my hand tightly. She said seriously, "Sophia, the men who come here are not good. If my dad wasn't sick, I wouldn't risk coming to a place like this. Be careful, call me if anything happens," I said with a bitter smile. "I'm like this now. Anyone who sees me will have to avoid me." My best friend heard this. She pinched my face in pain. "Sophia, don't talk about yourself like that. Come on. The workload of clubhouse attendants is not easier than that of hotels. It's even more tiring. They have to run around all the time. Whenever a guest calls, you have to go there right away." I was busy as hell. The cell phone in my pocket kept vibrating. "Sophia, come to VIP 6. When I saw the message, I thought my best friend was in a hurry. Immediately rushed over. The door opened. There were a bunch of gentlemen sitting inside. What surprised me more was that Alexander was also inside. Isn't Alexander already engaged to Emily? Why would he come here? At this moment, the boys are joking with each other. Alexander, don't be quiet when you're here. Let's sing. Our Lily is a great singer. Alexander, are you worried that your fiancé will come looking for you? Don't worry. We've got you covered. I'll try to keep my hat down. Stand aside. Alexander looks up and finishes his glass of wine in one gulp, says, somehow, I always felt like something was missing inside. My best friend couldn't help but interject. Alexander, is it owed a favor to someone in the clubhouse? The boys are relaxing and chatting. Alexander, after the fire 6 months ago, you did forget something in that memory. Could there be someone particularly important? Alexander suddenly props his head on his hand. Alexander suddenly held his head in his hands, looking very distressed. Did I ever lose my memory? Seeing his face look bad. Everyone rushed to persuade him. Alexander, don't think about it. Let's drink and sing. I understand my girlfriend's intentions, but I have to go to work. I opened the door to leave. I bumped into Emily, who was walking fast. She slapped me in the face with her hand. She slapped me and said angrily, how dare you get in my way? I didn't stand still for a second. I fell straight to the ground and knocked the door open. My best friend saw me fall, rushed over to help me. How can you hit people with your hands? Emily said emotionally, I just want to teach you immodest people a lesson. There are still a few of you, knowing that Alexander is not well, and still bring him to such a messy place. Gongzi smiled and rounded up the situation. Sister-in-law, don't be angry. Alexander is fine. Emily looked at Alexander, said pampered Alexander, are you coming with me or not? Alexander immediately stood up and said, don't be silly. I'm just coming over for a drink. Emily took Alexander's arm. My best friend and I stood up at the same time. We came face to face. I froze in place. I wanted to turn around, but it was too late. Emily's face was grim. Step by step, she approached, said in a stern voice, why are you always a ghost? Last time you stole something, Alexander kindly let you go. How dare you show up in front of us? Let's settle old scores with new ones. Kneel down, make amends, until I am satisfied. Hearing these words, the few dukes in the back followed suit. You don't have much guts. How dare you mess with Alexander's fiancé? Sister-in-law, we'll stand up for you. Why don't you come over and apologize to your sister-in-law? Several people are staggering towards us, ready to make a move. BFF immediately stepped forward, standing in front of me. She said to those people, John, Mike, there must be a misunderstanding. My sister would never steal anything. Please let her go. I'm willing to drink and sing for her. I'll drink and sing for her until you think it's okay. The cocky guy pushed her away and said, Lily, it's not that we don't care about you, but this is no time for you to interrupt. I looked nervously at my best friend who was on the floor. My heart especially didn't want to involve her, so I helplessly kneeled down. My knees touched the ground directly. Please don't make things difficult for Lily. It's all my fault. Emily, if you have any grievances, just let me know. Emily was clinging to Alexander, looked contemptuously at me on my knees. That's what you said. Then drink up all the wine on the table and I'll let you off this time. I'll let you off this time. The fire before, it burned me pretty badly. And then it caused complications. It made my stomach and intestines become particularly bad. The doctor warned me, never drink alcohol, or else you'll definitely have a stomach bleed. But I have no way back now. The one who used to spoil me and love me, I've already lost. Now he won't open his mouth to say a word for me again. I clenched my fists tightly, agreeing with difficulty. Good, I'll drink. I hope Emily keeps her promise. After saying that, I slowly crawled towards the coffee table. As I passed by Alexander, couldn't help but steal a glance at him. The dim light blurred his face, making it hard for me to see him. To end this quickly, I grabbed a bottle of wine, tilted my head back and drank. The strong liquor irritated my throat and stomach, making me feel very uncomfortable, almost threw up. The rich kids next to me sneered and reminded me, these wines are not cheap. If you dare to spit out a single drop, you'll have to pay for it at the original price. My heart tightened. I couldn't swallow the wine. I can only cover my mouth vigorously. My face was red, almost couldn't breathe, but I still had to continue. There were still 3 big bottles of wine on the table. The ordeal was far from over. My best friend couldn't stand to watch. She said, Sophia, stop drinking. You can't drink anymore. You'll get into trouble if you keep drinking. She cried out urgently, please, let me drink for her. She wanted to rush over to help me, but the people around her kept stopping her. They wouldn't let her come over. Instead, he shouted at me, drink, don't stop. My best friend had no choice. She looked at the impassive Alexander, pleaded Alexander. Sophia really can't drink. For the sake of our friendship, please spare her. The fire was Sophia's fault. Just as her girlfriend said this, Emily's eyes turned cold. Emily's eyes went cold. Emily's eyes went cold and she slapped her with her hand. Shut up. What are you standing around for? What are you still standing there for? Get rid of this nonsense. The two gentlemen immediately rushed over. They covered their girlfriend's mouth and dragged her out of the room. They dragged her out. Don't talk. You don't know who you are. How dare you help others out? I drank the hot wine. My stomach hurts like a knife. My head buzzed, fell heavily to the ground in a blur. I saw my best friend being bullied. She said in a vague voice, "Don't bully Lily. Come at me." My best friend was grabbed by two men, but she was still holding on to the door and refusing to leave. She shouted, "Sophia, Sophia, Sophia," seeing us in a difficult situation. Emily's face showed an obvious smug look. In the nick of time, Alexander suddenly speaks up. "It's all right. What a mess. It's not appropriate." "Emily, you're not leaving." "Then I'll go." He shook off Emily's hand. He strides away without expression. Emily rushed after him and said, "Alexander, don't be mad. Don't be mad. I'm just kidding." Seeing that they are ready to leave one after the other, the male immediately let go of his best friend. He made way for them. "Alexander, don't be mad. Let's play it differently next time." My best friend hurriedly ran to my side. She shook me gently. "Sophia, hang in there. I'll call a car to take you to the hospital." How did I get out of the club? I don't remember a thing. Until I got to the door, I saw my best friend waving her hand to stop a car. A cold wind blew over. In a daze, I seemed to see Alexander's figure. I really wanted to see him. When I was sober, I didn't dare to think about it. Only now, with blurred consciousness, I dared to dream this dream. I left my girlfriends, slowly walking towards the one who's in my heart. Actually, Alexander and Emily are having a falling out. Emily was nervous and upset, reaching for Alexander. "Alexander, wait for me. That thief had it coming." "But why are you still upset?" Alexander's face is silhouetted against the night. Before he could speak, I was unsteady. I jumped on him. I hugged him tightly. "Alexander, is that you? I missed you so much. If this is a dream, please let me never wake up." Emily saw me hugging Alexander. She was furious. She shouted at me, "You thief! You shameless man! Who gave you the guts to come and seduce my man? You dare to seduce my man. You don't even look at your status." He pressed my shoulders hard. He kept pinching my flesh, trying to push me away, but my hands are stuck to Alexander. No matter how much she messed around or how much she did, I still clung to him. Emily's behavior now completely reveals her other side. Even Alexander is starting to feel disgusted with her. "That's enough. Stop it, both of you. She's drunk, and it's your fault." Emily listened. She took a step back in disbelief. "Alexander, I can't believe you're mad at me. For a guy like that." Emily was about to make a move on me. That's when my best friend realized I was gone. She rushed after me. "Sophia, what are you doing over there?" "I'm sorry, Alexander." "Emily, she's drunk. She's not sober. Please don't bother with her." As the situation was getting more and more troublesome, I suddenly felt a pain in my stomach. I suddenly felt a terrible pain in my stomach, and I was about to throw up. I was about to throw up. Alexander frowned, pushed me away with a look of disgust, turned around and got into the car. Didn't even let Emily get in. "I want to be alone today." Emily looked at the car and yelled, "Alexander, Alexander." My best friend hurriedly helped me into the cab. After that, I was completely unconscious. When I woke up the next day, I woke up the next day with a terrible headache. I woke up the next day with a headache and an upset stomach, and my best friend stayed by my side all night, stayed up all night, finally fell asleep on the bed. I gently touched her face. Heartbroken, I wanted to get up quietly, but this body is really too weak. Just got up a little and almost fell down. The result woke up my best friend. She hurriedly said, "Sophia, don't move around. The doctor told you to lie down and rest. You were so drunk last night. The doctor had to pump your stomach." I was really scared. I licked my dry lips. "I'm sorry, Lily. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for worrying you. Follow me. Let you suffer." My best friend hurriedly took out a tissue and helped me wipe away my tears. "Help me wipe away my tears." The tone of voice is urgent. "This is not our fault. It's that irresponsible Alexander who's to blame. How could he let that woman who took someone else's place bully us?" But last night, I was a little distracted. "Did you say anything to him? Did you say anything to him?" I was startled. How did I go to him? What the hell did I do? How come I don't have any impression at all? My best friend saw that I kept patting my head. Worried, she took my hand. Sophia, don't think too much. It's been so long. He made you suffer so much, but you're still thinking about him. Some things will come out eventually. He can't be kept in the dark forever. That's true, but if he knows, it'll hurt me. I'd rather he never know. The pain of not being able to love. It's enough for me to bear it alone, after all. He's already started a new life. The one who accompanies him now is Emily. What happened at the clubhouse last night made Emily feel uneasy. She immediately told someone about it. My best friend was fired from the company because of me. It makes me feel even worse. Lily, you blame me. I shouldn't have gone to work for you. My best friend didn't seem to care. It's okay. I don't care about that kind of occasion. I have enough money to pay for my dad's surgery anyway. She continued. When your body recovers, we'll work together. I stayed at my best friend's place for the time being, for the next few days. I went out with my best friend to look for a job. My situation was difficult. I didn't realize that my best friend had also hit the wall one after another. I always felt that someone was behind it. For a whole week, my best friend and I were busy, but we came up empty-handed. That night, we were in a low mood, walking aimlessly on the way back to the rental house. Suddenly, a man stopped me. I didn't expect it to be Ryan, Alexander's assistant. My heart tightened. My intuition told me that something might have happened to Alexander. Ryan, what are you doing here? It's not Alexander. Ryan interrupted me. Sophia, do you have a minute? Let's sit down somewhere and talk. My best friend was worried about me. She grabbed my hand tightly. If you're going to give us Sophia a hard time over that, Emily, I'll never do it. Ryan looks a little troubled. No, he's not. I'm here on my own. I turned to my best friend. Lily, you can go home now. Don't worry. He won't give me a hard time. He helped me find a job at the hotel. My best friend gently skimmed her mouth. You've got a conscience, unlike your heartless boss later. I followed Ryan. He hesitates and says, Sophia, I came to see you today. It's really about Alexander. Alexander seemed to remember something. He asked me to look into the fire 6 months ago, and he mentioned you. I'm hesitant to tell him the truth. To tell him the truth or not. I was shocked in my heart, almost fell down. When did this happen? He hasn't been in the best of shape these past 2 days. I think it's better not to take any chances yet. Ryan thought about it, about a week ago. At the end of the day, he pushed me for more information. Then let's listen to you. Let's wait and see. My heart was in turmoil. I'm hopeful, but I'm also afraid of the unbearable consequences. I said to Ryan, thank you so much for telling me this. Can I ask you one more favor? Can you help my best friend find a job? She must have been implicated by me. I can't. I'll leave here, go somewhere else. Although I can't leave this city behind, because Alexander and I fell in love here. There are so many good memories of us here. But if I have to sacrifice his health and my best friend's life, I'd rather take it all on myself. Seeing that I have thoughts of leaving, Ryan's serious. Sophia, I'll do what I can to help with your best friend's job. Why don't you wait a little longer? Maybe things will turn around. You and Alexander are both victims. It's fate. Ryan and I said goodbye on the street, but I didn't realize that Emily had been wary of me for a long time. She's been trying to find a way to get to me. I was about to open the door. I realized it was open. My best friend's cries for help came from inside. My heart tightened, immediately rushed in. I saw 3 unsuspecting men pulling my girlfriend's clothes. Although my best friend was already scared to death, when she saw me, she immediately shouted. Sophia, quickly run, seeing this scene. I was so angry that I couldn't care less about being scared. Shouted, what you are doing is illegal. Let Lily go. If you don't stop, I will call the police. But I was just about to get my cell phone. A bad guy immediately rushed over and pressed me to the ground. She said, how dare you threaten us? How dare you threaten us? I struggled. Let go of me. Who ordered you to do this? Let Lily go. The 2 men behind me let my friend go for a while. One of them asked, boss, which one is the one we're looking for? Which one is the one we're looking for? Just as I was desperately struggling, the man violently ripped my sleeve. He sneered, deliberately avoiding my gaze. Boss, that's her. The man said, you are wearing such ugly clothes. How can you still have the face to approach men? The leader of the gangsters came over, picked me up with one hand, looked me up and down. Just now I just suspected. Now I've confirmed it. These 3 troublemakers were sent by Emily. I couldn't help but spit at him. Ugh, I'm so ugly. You guys can really go down on me. That person sneered, said, although your appearance is not good, but your face is still good. Then he said, Isn't this buy one, get one free? Your friend's appearance is much more pleasing than yours, even if I can't get away with this. I will never involve my best friend. Let Lily go. If there's anything you want to do, I'll do it. Those 3 people obviously don't intend to let us go. None of you will escape tonight. It's your fault, messing with the wrong people. Behind me, my bestie took advantage of the fact that their attention was on me. Trembling, she picked up the broom, hitting it as hard as she could. Sophia, run. The words hadn't even left my mouth. The gangster took a hit, but immediately counterattacked. A kick knocked BFF to the ground. With an impish smile on his face, dragging her legs forward, the girlfriend cried out, "Don't come over." I was furious to the core, shouting at the top of my voice, "You guys let go of her." The man tightened his grip on my chin, coldly said, "Take it easy. It will soon be your turn. When we're done, take your videos and you'll be able to deliver," said. He started tearing my clothes. When he saw the skin on my chest, he couldn't help but dry heave in disgust. "Boss, this woman is unbearable for me to look at." My girlfriend and I were pressed to the ground. Tears and blood have dried up, still couldn't escape. Suddenly, the door was violently kicked open. Ryan rushed in with his cell phone. He shouted, "You 3 hurry up and stop. I've already called the police. If you don't leave, no one is going to run away." Suddenly, the 3 bad guys who were arrogant just now panicked. "Hurry and run outside. Quickly retreat." When they ran far away, Ryan immediately closed the door. "Take off your coat. Are you guys okay?" I tightened the clothes on my back. "Shrink to the side." "Ryan, thanks to you, give it to Lily." Ryan walked over to Lily. He asked with concern, "Lily, are you okay?" He took off his jacket, gently drapes it over Lily. Lily stayed curled up there. She didn't respond for a long time. Obviously, it was a big shock. I felt both guilty and sad. First took her back to her room. After a while, I came out disturbed. "Ryan, thanks to you. I don't know what would have happened otherwise. What made you think of coming here?" Ryan said with a serious expression. "I forgot to remind you to watch out for Emily. It turned out to be a step too late. I didn't realize she was so ruthless. I didn't think she'd let someone break in here in the middle of the night. Looks like it's not safe for you to live here. I'll help you move to another place tomorrow. We'll move you there for a while." I understand that Ryan is thinking about us. I'm a little hesitant to ask, "Ryan, would this be too much trouble for you?" Ryan stood up and said, "Think of it as me returning a favor to you for Alexander. If Alexander remembers that I didn't do it, he'll blame me. I'm sure he'll blame me." That night, I was too worried to sleep, squeezed into a bed with my best friend, because I had gotten her into trouble. My best friend also had nightmares in the middle of the night. I felt even more guilty about her. I accepted Ryan's arrangement. He not only found us a place to stay, he also helped me and my best friend to solve the job problem. We're staying in the suburbs for the time being. There's a big farm here. I help with the farm work. My girlfriend does live broadcasting to sell goods. Life is calm and full. One day, I suddenly received a message from Ryan. The mood that had been so calm became uneasy again. "Sophia, how are you guys doing these days?" Alexander seems to have really remembered something. The information about the past. I can only give it to him. I was in a panic. I called him back. Ryan answered. Alexander read the information. There was little change in mood. Seemed calm. Didn't say much either. I wasn't sure what he was thinking. I said gratefully, "Ryan, really worked hard for you. You've helped us so much. It's been a good time for Lily and me here. This night, because of that message, I couldn't sleep. Just when I was half asleep, suddenly smelled a strong smell of smoke. I immediately felt something was wrong. I hurriedly pushed my best friend awake. I got out of bed myself. As soon as I opened the door, thick smoke came to my face, choking me straight cough. My heart almost stopped. "Another fire," he turned his head, shouted. "Lily, not good. There's a fire. Quickly run." The last fire caused irreparable damage. It left a shadow in my heart, more than anything else. I have to protect my best friend. I used most of my body to block in front of her. Suddenly, a fireball smashed down. I don't hesitate to push her away, yelling, "Lily, run." My best friend, who was temporarily out of danger, desperately waving at me, crying, "Sophia, run, come here." But I was too tired. Maybe I should have ended up in that fire 6 months ago. Then I wouldn't have had to suffer so much. I fell down. Just at the moment I was about to pass out, it seemed like a figure rushed in. I felt myself being held tightly in a strong and powerful embrace. I don't know how long it took. When I came to my senses again, I found myself lying in the hospital wearing an oxygen mask. My best friend grabbed my hand tightly, full of excitement, shouted, Sophia, you finally woke up. You've been in a coma for 2 days. You've been in a coma for 2 days. She then asked, do you feel sick now? I'll call the doctor right away. I touched my head. It felt like my head was in chaos. I tried to recall what happened that night, but I couldn't. I was fine. It's just that my mind is a mess. What happened? My girlfriend wiped her tears. She looked at me seriously. Sophia, don't you remember? That night the house we lived in caught fire. She suddenly stopped, covered her mouth hurriedly. She said, you tried to save me. Almost had an accident yourself. Luckily, I shook my head. Still can't remember who actually saved us. BFF's expression suddenly became a bit stiff. Then she changed her words. It was the villagers. We have water pumps for watering over there. The fire was quickly extinguished. We really experienced a great disaster. There must be a blessing in the future. Maybe because I slept too long. I'm not feeling well. I tried to sit up. My best friend immediately came over to help me rock the bed. She put a pillow on my back. At the same time, she turned on the TV. The news was reporting on the fire in the suburbs. It mentioned that the mastermind behind the fire had been caught. It was Emily. It also detailed her identity. The news said she was the fiance of Alexander of the Alexander Group, but there's no telling why she would do something like this. The girlfriend was furious. Couldn't help but say aloud, this Emily is really ruthless. She should be sentenced to life in prison. Releasing her is also a scourge to others. I was puzzled. Lily, who is Emily? Why did she set fire to us? Do we have any problems with her? I frowned, trying to clear my mind, but the mind went blank. My best friend, however, panicked, grabbing my arm with all her might. Sophia, you don't remember this bad woman. You remember Alexander. I blinked. I looked at my best friend, who had a strange expression on her face, asked, who is he? Do I need to know him? I was a little surprised at the expression on my face. The Alexander Group was just mentioned on TV. My girlfriend looked at me with concern. Sophia, you rest first. I'll go to the doctor and ask him what's going on. She closed the door gently. Through the door, I could hear her asking for the doctor. Doctor, how is my friend's condition? She seems to have forgotten something, but it's not complete amnesia, just lost a certain memory. After that, I didn't hear what she said. A week later, I finished the discharge procedures. My best friend graciously said, Sophia, let's go on a trip. Sophia, let's go on a trip. You can choose any place you want. I only remembered that my best friend's family was ordinary. She had to work to earn money when she was in school. Lily, you've won the lottery. So generous. My best friend smiled a little embarrassed. She patted my head and said, Sophia, this money is compensation. We paid for it with our lives. The fire was set on purpose. We'll have to pay for it. Now we have a little bit of money. Let's go on a trip first. Then how about opening a small store together? I listened to my girlfriend chatting about her vision of the future. Heart both happy and a little confused. I asked her, Lily, you said we went through that fire, but the scars on my body seem to have healed a long time ago. What's going on? My best friend, who was just pointing at me, suddenly changed her face. Suddenly her face changed, eyes flashing. Oops, that scar was there when you were a child. You do not remember, or did you tell me? I kept my head down. I tried to remember, but I can't remember. I can't. My best friend patted me on the shoulder, interrupting my thoughts. Don't think so much. It's been a long time coming. It's time to relax. Let's pick a place. Let's go now, since we've saved enough money. Traveling is easy. I traveled around with my girlfriends. We enjoyed ourselves for almost half a month before returning home. 1 month later, my best friend and I opened a small store selling desserts and flowers together. Today is the opening day of the new store. Business is not bad. I greeted customers at the door, handing out tasters to everyone. Suddenly, I saw a man wearing a duck-tongued hat and mask, wrapping himself up tightly. Even the kids next to him were scared away. Mom, this uncle is so strange. I'm a man with a lot of scars myself. I sure wouldn't look at anyone differently. I walked over and took the initiative. This is a cake and drink I just made. You want to try them? He looked a little flustered. Hurriedly, he pulled on his hat. He trembled and held out his hand. I saw a lot of freshly healed scars on the back of his hand. As soon as he saw me looking at his hand, immediately retracted his hand. Wanted to turn away. I hurriedly called out to him. I put something on the table. Try it yourself. I thought the strange man was just passing by. But then for a while, I always seemed to catch a glimpse of him. He always wore all black, wrapping himself up tightly. Every time I tried to call out to him, he disappeared in the blink of an eye. Later, I talked to my girlfriend about it. Lily, have you ever seen that man in black clothes with his face covered? My girlfriend was arranging flowers. Suddenly, she stuck her hand in the flower arrangement. When she heard what I said, she said, "Have you? The store is full of people. That means we're doing well. Sophia, have you remembered anything lately?" I smiled a little. "Say, what else do you remind me of? I've got so much to do at the store." Then, I asked again, "It's you, Lily. I've noticed that one of the customers is particularly enthusiastic about you. Does he have a crush on you?" My best friend laughed and came over to scratch me gently. "Don't talk nonsense. We had a deal before. We'll find a boyfriend together, get married together." I smiled bitterly and lowered my head. "I'll forget about it. I have so many scars on my body. What man would want to marry me?" My best friend ran over and hugged me in pain. "Don't think so. There will always be someone who is willing to pay for you sincerely, love you silently, keep you in his heart for the rest of his life." Out of my sight, in the doorway stood a man dressed in black. His face was covered. Only a pair of eyes were revealed, still deep and charming. The eyes were filled with endless sorrow and longing.